Good morning. Last lesson we have seen nutrition. What are the nutrients that should be present in our food? Now today we are going to see how the nutrients are given to the body, given to the tissues. How they are broken up into micro molecules and sent to the tissues. That work is done by our digestive system. Digestive system break this macromolecules of the nutrients present in our food and send it to the bloodstream so that it will be utilized by the cells for oxidizing and releasing energy. So digestive system is a very important system without which we cannot get the energy. First we are going to see anatomy of digestive system. The digestive system consists of alimentary canal and digestive glands. It can be divided into two major parts, alimentary canal and digestive glands. The alimentary canal, it starts from mouth, the tubular structure which extends from mouth to anus is called alimentary canal. All these together up to this is called alimentary canal. The length of the alimentary canal is 9 meters. Okay, so the length of the alimentary canal is 9 meters. If you say one simply 9 meters, then you will be listening, okay, it is 9 meters. But just I measured and I am going to show the length of the alimentary canal. See, this much long. It is kept compact in the abdomen. It is kept compact in our body cavity. Okay. So this alimentary canal starts from mouth to anus, I said. The mouth. What are the parts? First we are going to see the structure. Anatomy is study of internal structure. We are going to see the structure. Then functioning of each part we are going to see. Mouth has lips, upper lip and lower lip. They protect our mouth. And for biting, sipping, for all these purposes, we need these lips and the expressions. Okay. For that also we need these lips. These are useful. Then tongue. Tongue is a muscular organ. It has no bone. And they used to say, no, naramillada naakku eppadi pesum, elundillada naakku eppadi pesum. They used to say, no. Okay, no bones in the tongue. The muscular organ. This tongue mixes the food. When the food has been grinded in the mouth, it mixes the food with saliva. A partial digestion takes place in mouth itself. That we are going to see in physiology of digestive system. So it mixes the food. And for the taste, if you get fever, we cannot taste anything. It is our tongue will become tasteless because the taste buds are affected. The taste buds are present in the tongue. With the help of the taste buds only, we can get the taste of the food. If the food is not tasty, we won't eat. Right? So tongue plays a very important role in getting the taste of the food. Okay? So these are the major function of the tongue. And for speaking, you would have seen in movie and they used to, if anyone know any secret, just to avoid that one, they will cut the tongue so that person cannot talk. Only when he talks he can say the secret. No. So the tongue plays a very important role in speaking. Okay. The voice box produces the sound. That sound, it differs, different sounds will be produced, made in a different way by the tongue. Okay, so all these are the functions of the tongue. Then teeth. Teeth, two sets of teeth we have, milk teeth and permanent teeth. And we are going to see elaborately what are the different types of teeth and what are the functions of. Then we will go for the salivary glands. And next, after telling the salivary glands, we will come back to teeth. Salivary glands, the mouth, parotid, sublingual, submandibular glands. These are the salivary glands. They secrete saliva. That also we are going to say elaborately. So from here, Up to lips and tongue we finish. Teeth, salivary glands, then we proceed. Then we will see the rest of the part of the alimentary. Okay.
Next we are going to see
the teeth, mouth. We are seeing the lips, tongue. Next one is teeth. We have 4 different types of teeth: incisors,
canine, premolar and molar. Incisor, the first 4 teeth here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay.
so these 4 teeth together called incisors.
Upper jaw 4, lower jaw 4. Okay.
Then if you take side one part of upper jaw, 2 incisors. Okay.
It will be having sharp edge.
Single root.
What is root? We
We'll elaborate to see the structure of a tooth.
So it has single root fixed in the bone, jaw bones, and it is used for cutting, biting and cutting. Okay,
the food.
the next comes the canine. Canine has a short pointed edge. It is seen on either side here. Here one canine, here one canine. Okay, so 2 canine on either side, upper jaw 2 canine, lower jaw 2 canine. Okay, so if you take the half of the upper jaw or half of the lower jaw, 1 canine. 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here. Okay, so when we write the dental formula, 1 canine. The next one is premolar. Premolar have flat edge and raised, 2 raised parts are there. Okay, cusps. They are called as cusp. So they are also called as bicuspid. When you come across this bicuspid valve in the structure of the heart. Okay. So here also they have the raised part is called a cusp, and
Since it has 2 cusps, bicuspid, this premolar. Okay. And the root also they have 2, the root is divided. The root is a part which fixes the tooth in the jaw bones. So it has 2 roots. These incisors and canine, single root. Then premolar has 2 roots.
then this premolar,
There are 2
on either side. Okay, here 2, here 2, here 2, here 2.
Okay, that's why we have written premolar 2 each side of the jaw. Upper jaw, this side upper jaw, this side upper jaw, this side lower jaw, this side lower jaw. 2 are seen. So altogether 4. In each jaw there are 4. 2 this side, 2 this side. Then molar.
They are used for grinding the food. Premolar and molar used for grinding the food. And molar, 3 molars are there on either side. This side 3 molar, this side 3 molar, this side 3 molar, this side 3 molar. All together 4 3s are 12. Okay. The last molar teeth is called as wisdom tooth. The last molar, wisdom tooth, because after the age of after 21 years, 21 to 22 years, only the wisdom tooth we will get. Then the body is fully matured. Okay. So these are the different types of, since we are having different types of teeth, different types in the teeth, it is called as heterodent. Heterodent. Then while we are writing the dental formula, we used to, what I have written is a permanent teeth. Before dental formula we will see we can get 2 sets of teeth, milk teeth and permanent teeth. These are the different types of teeth present in our dental dentition. And this one, these are the 2 sets of teeth in lifetime you will get. Milk teeth, it starts from 2 months to 7 months.
Up to 2 years it will grow. Okay. So at the age of 2 years,
it will get 20 milk teeth. Why we are calling as milk teeth? Because they are not permanent,
they will fall and again new tooth will come.
okay.
So they are also called as deciduous teeth. So 20 milk teeth. After this, after 2 years, one by one, it will fall and replace. The new one will replace the old one. Then, at the age of up to the age of 17 to 20, we will get permanent teeth. Permanent teeth 28. And after 20 years, the wisdom tooth will start coming. Okay? So wisdom tooth, what I said, yeah, four wisdom tooth, the last molar only wisdom tooth.
Okay, so here 1, 2, 3, 4. So 28 plus 4, 32. 32 we should have. Then only we are having the full set adult. We are having 32 teeth in our mouth. Okay. Then only we got the set, permanent set. So now the dental formula. If you go to the dentist, if you have any problem with the teeth, toothache is horrible thing, isn't it so? So if you go to the doctor, dentist, they will check and they will, if in order to take X-ray, they will write the dental formula and they will circle the tooth which is affected. Suppose you are this premolar of the right, left, that also they will write. Right side or left side they will write and they will circle that particular. Okay. So after taking the X-ray, by seeing that only the affected teeth will be pulled out. And now we can retain our, even if it got affected also, we can retain our tooth by root canal treatment. Okay, that is all higher classes you will study. Okay, so this is how they write the dental formula. This dental formula is written for this one particular, this 1/4. Okay, upper jaw, lower jaw. Upper jaw 16, lower jaw 16. I am talking about the permanent teeth. Okay, and then the upper jaw, this side or this side. If it is affected, left side, this side will write. Affected right side, this side will write. Okay, lower jaw. So what it denotes upper jaw, this one denotes lower jaw. Okay, so 2 incisors, canine 1, premolar 2, molar 3. Okay, this is how they used to write the dental formula for the permanent teeth. Okay, then we are going to see the structure of whether it is incisor, premolars or molars or canine. What is the general structure? In general, what will be the structure of the tooth? So the tooth has a crown, neck and root. Crown, neck, this part is root. The crown has enamel. This one enamel is the hardest part. Okay, and it is followed by another hard part, dentine. This dentine is harder than bone. The dentine is harder than bone, but it is not harder than the enamel. Okay. Then it encloses a cavity called pulp cavity. This pulp cavity, as it has this neck region, the neck region only enters into the fix in the gum. Okay, the neck portion is fixed in the gum. Then the remaining, the root is fixed in the, this part is jawbone. Jawbone. Okay. And when it is fixed in the jawbone, it is also covered by, this dentine is covered by another cement, another hard substance called cement, which gives the support to the, and it is fixed in the jawbone. This pulp cavity encloses, the pulp cavity will be entering into this root, leave a small opening through which the blood capillaries, then lacteal vessels and nerves all will enter into this. Okay.
Because of this only the pulp cavity contains nerves, the blood capillaries. We have the sensation. Okay, and this provides nourishment to the gum. And if the gum is weak also, what happens? It will be moving away. Okay, then this it will lose its strength. The tooth will lose its strength. Suppose if it is this one, what I have drawn is either incisor, single root, incisor or canine. Premolar will be having 2 roots and molar will be having 3 roots. Okay, so this premolar and molar, see the roots, it will be entering into the pulp cavity through the roots. Okay, so same parts, but here only it differs. Okay, so this is the general structure of the tooth. We have seen what are the different types of teeth we have, and since we have different types of teeth, it is called heterodent. What are the 2 sets of teeth we will receive in our lifetime, left teeth and permanent teeth, how to write the dental formula and structure of the teeth. Okay, then next we are going to see that in the salivary glands, that is there in the mouth, no, lips, tongue, teeth, salivary glands. Next we will see the anatomy of salivary glands.
Next, salivary glands. We have 3 types of salivary glands. Carotid. Carotid gland is located just in front and below
The ear.
okay.
Carotid gland is located here, near the ear. And the next one is submandibular. Submandibular in the lower jaw. The lower jaw, submandibular. Behind the lower jaw, submandibular. And sublingual, just below the tongue. Just below the tongue, we have the sublingual. All these 3 salivary glands secrete saliva. Okay. And per day, 1000 to 1500 ml of saliva is secreted in our mouth per day. Okay. And what is the nature of this saliva? The pH should be 6.8. If the acidity increases, you will get the sour taste. Okay, if the basicity increases, you will get the bitter taste. So the pH should be 6.8. Okay. Then in this saliva, 99% is water. That 1% contains salt, mucus, chyline. Chyline is, the P is silent here, we should pronounce it as chyline, and it is also called as salivary amylase. This salivary amylase convert starch that is present in the food into maltose. So the digestion started here in the mouth itself. The part of digestion takes place in the mouth by conversion of starch into maltose. That is done by chyline, that is salivary amylase, which is present in saliva. So in addition to this, the saliva has some more function. Because of the saliva only, see if the grinder, if you put rice, only rice if you put, it won't grind properly. You will add water also. Then only you will get a nice flour. Okay, soft, nice. So same like that, when we grind, the food has been grinded in the mouth. Then in order to grind the food properly, it needs some water. Okay, that water, one spoon food, 1 spoon water, like that we cannot eat. Okay, so when we bite and chew the food, the salivary gland secretes saliva, and saliva mix with the food and it makes the teeth to grind it easily. And the saliva plus grinded food forms a bolus, which has been pushed through the esophagus. That we are going to see in the physiology. Okay, so that is the function of saliva. And if the water content is less, you will get a dryness in the mouth. The saliva secretes, saliva 99% is water only. So 99% water is reduced, water content is reduced. What will happen? We will feel thirsty. Then we will drink more water. That will balance the, if you feel thirsty, that is due to the less water content is there in our body. That's why it shows by the saliva. Saliva is not secreted because water content is less. So when we are feeling thirsty, we are taking water. The water will get balanced. So balancing the water content in our body. That also main function of this saliva. So here we have seen the digestive system, alimentary canal and digestive glands. Alimentary canal start from mouth to anus, extend from mouth to anus. So far we discussed the parts of the mouth: lips, tongue, teeth and salivary glands. And salivary glands, the function of saliva also, the digestion done by saliva also we have seen. Then we are going to see the remaining part of the alimentary canal and the anatomy. Then we will go for the physiology. Okay. Next, mouth leads to the esophagus, and at the junction of this mouth cavity, you see it enters the food pipe. The esophagus is joined with an opening called pharynx. Okay, the food pipe and the windpipe both, the passage will be common, but when it enters here, the pharynx, epiglottis will close the windpipe. Glottis will open and enter the food, allow the food to the esophagus. Esophagus is short tube which connects the pharynx to the stomach. Then next one is stomach. Stomach has sphincters. There are two sphincters at the beginning and end of the anterior and posterior end of the stomach. The beginning esophagus enters into the abdominal cavity through diaphragm. The diaphragm is a muscular sheath which separates the chest cavity from the abdominal cavity. So through the diaphragm, the esophagus enters into the stomach. And at the entry, the sphincters are seen. Those sphincters are called cardiac sphincters. And these cardiac sphincters expands to form the stomach. Inner wall of the stomach has many secretory cells, glandular epithelial cells, which secretes digestive enzymes. And the oxyntic cells are the main cells which secretes HCl also be secreted in the stomach. Then the posterior end of the stomach is connected with the pyloric sphincter. Then the pyloric sphincter is connected with the small intestine. The small intestine, if you take the small intestine is 7 meters long. It can be divided into 3 parts. First one, duodenum, the short tube-shaped tube, which is provided with a duct from the liver, bile duct and pancreatic duct. Then next one is jejunum. Then the last part of the small intestine is ileum. Inner wall of the ileum has the small intestine 7 meters long. The inner wall of the ileum contains number of finger-like projections called villi. Singular villus. So now I have drawn one structure of the villus. It has each villus finger-like projection is covered by epithelium. Then it encloses the cavity which is filled with capillaries, lacteal and blood capillaries in the sense arteries and veins, lacteal vessels and blood capillaries. These blood capillaries are arteries as well as veins. Okay, so here only the main absorption takes place. The micromolecules, that physiology I will see. Micromolecules will be absorbed by this vessels, lacteal vessels, lacteal and the blood capillaries are taken to the bloodstream. Okay, that is about the small intestine. Then the large intestine. The large intestine is broader than the small intestine and the length is short. Okay, and large intestine it can be divided into three parts. First, beginning of the large intestine where the small intestine and large intestines are combined, joined, cecum. And this cecum has a blunt end. The blunt end, we can see a finger-like projection is called appendix. It is called vermiform appendix. If you don't have the proper bowel movements, if you eat junk food, all the dirt will go and accumulate here, this appendix, vermiform appendix, and if it accumulated more and more, it will bulge and burst. That is called appendicitis. That problem is called appendicitis. Okay? It is a vestigial organ. It is of no use, but it is there. Okay? Then this cecum will come up, raise up towards the right side. So that is ascending colon, and then transverse. It comes transverse part, transverse portion, transverse colon. Then again it will towards the left side. It will come down. Okay, that is the as a descending colon. So cecum, transverse colon, ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon. These are the different parts of the large intestine. Then the large intestine ends with rectum. Okay, the rectum stores the undigested food and it is passed out to anus. Okay, these are the parts of the digestive system. So far we have discussed anatomy, mouth, then alimentary canal. We have discussed about all these alimentary canal, anatomy of alimentary canal. Now digestive glands. Next we are going to see the digestive glands. After that we are going to see the physiology. Okay. If you take this digestive glands, it has liver and pancreas. Liver and pancreas are the two digestive glands. The liver is the largest gland. It secretes bile. The bile is stored in the gallbladder and it is taken by the bile duct to the duodenum. Then pancreas. Pancreas is 2-in-1 organ. It is endocrine as well as exocrine glands. And the exocrine gland of the pancreas secrete pancreatic juice that will be taken by the pancreatic duct and poured into the duodenum. These are the two glands. In addition to this, inside the stomach, we have the digestive juice secreting glands. Okay. So, we have seen alimentary canal and digestive glands, anatomy. We are going to see the physiology, how the digestion takes place. Okay.
Now we are going to see the physiology of digestive system. So far we have discussed the anatomy, physiology, how it is functioning. The food is digested and provided to the micromolecules are provided to the tissues to store. This takes place in 4 stages: ingestion, digestion, absorption and assimilation. Ingestion, sending the food inside. First food is kept in the mouth. The food is grinded with saliva and the grinded food formed a ball-like structure, that is bolus. It is pushed into the esophagus by opening the glottis. The esophagus, after this only it is under our control, swallowing. Okay, after this from here it is not under our control. It is controlled by our nervous system. It is a autonomous nervous system. Peristalsis, the contraction and expansion of the esophagus. This movement is called peristalsis. This peristalsis takes place throughout the alimentary canal. The food is sent to the different parts only through this by this peristaltic movement. Contraction, when this part contracts, this part expands. So the food present here is pushed down. Okay, when this contracts, it is pushed further down like this. Then it is entered into the stomach. In the stomach, the mouth itself, the digestion started. The mouth starch is converted into glucose. That already we have seen. The stomach, inner lining of the stomach secretes the gastric juice and HCl. The oxalic cells present in the inner lining of the stomach secrete HCl. This HCl acidify the food, kill the germs present in the food. Then this gastric juice contain these enzymes. All these are enzymes secreted by these parts, and these enzymes, what they are converting into what? Pepsin converts the protein present in our food into peptides. Renin, the enzyme renin in the gastric juice convert casein into paracasein. This is not casein, only this one is secreted only in the children, small children, because the main food for them, the infant adult, milk only. So milk, casein is milk protein. Okay, so that is converted into paracasein. Then it is food is sent to the duodenum, small intestine. Small intestine, starting at the small intestine is duodenum. The duodenum is a U-shaped tube where the liver and the pancreas send their secretion. Okay, so liver secretes bile. Bile emulsifies fat. Bile is not having any enzyme. It is bilirubin, biliverdin pigments it has, and the bile emulsifies the fat. So it is concerned about the cholesterol. Okay. Then pancreas secretes pancreatic juice. The pancreatic juice contains amylopsin. This amylopsin converts starch into maltose. Trypsin convert protein into amino acid, and zeaxanthin convert fat into fatty acids. Okay. Then it is pushed into the ileum, the next part, from the duodenum to the ileum. The ileum, it has two functions. It has a digestion as well as absorption. Absorption through the belly absorb the digested food. So both the part is played by the ileum. Ileum secretes digestive enzymes. Erixin, which converts the protein into amino acid. Maltose convert into glucose. Sucrase enzyme convert the sucrose into glucose. Lactase is an enzyme present in this digestive juice. It converts lactose into glucose and galactose. Then lipase convert fat into fatty acid and glycerol. So all this digestion, they are broken into all these we came across in the glucose, galactose and glycerol. All these we came across in the nutrition, the previous chapter we discussed. So all these are absorption by the villus. Absorbed by the bloodstream. It is taken to the different parts. There, the micromolecules are converted into macromolecules and stored. That process is called assimilation. So that is how that has been taken place. We are going to see. After this absorption, digestion. It is sent into the undigested food, sent to the large intestine. And peristaltic movement of the large intestine, no digestion takes place, only it stores and if it receives water, mix with the undigested food with water and send it by peristaltic movement, send it to the rectum, from rectum to anus it is sent out. Okay. Now we are going to see how this assimilation, the micromolecules are converted into macromolecules and stored in the tissues. We are going to see. And another important thing about the liver. What a wonderful organ liver we have. What are the other functions other than secreting bile? What are the other functions of the liver? We are going to see next. Now in the assimilation, how the digested food is stored in the tissues, we are going to see. These are the process glycogenosis. In this, the glucose that is digested and the glucose is formed, absorbed by the bloodstream. So glucose which is present in the blood is converted into glycogen. The insulin induces the cells to convert glucose into glycogen and store it in the liver. Then that process is called as glycogenosis. Then whenever we need glucose, whenever the body requires glucose, the glycogen that has been stored in the liver is converted into glucose. This process is called glycogenolysis. This is done by the glucagon, a hormone secreted by the
islet of Langerhans, one of the endocrine glands. Okay. Then amino acids. Next, amino acids, they cannot be stored. So they are utilized. Most of the amino acids are utilized to form protein and store the protein as muscles. Then the remaining are converted into remaining amino acids converted into urea by the liver. So the urea is an excretory product. It is converted into nitrogenous product. An excretory product is urea, and it is sent out through the kidney. Okay. So this is done by the liver. That is called deamination. This process called deamination. Then fatty acids and glycerols, they are converted into fat and they got deposited below the skin, subcutaneous layer of the skin, and some of the organs, and sometimes if you take cells, it will be deposited in the inner wall of the blood vessels also. That leads to heart attack. Okay. So yeah, that's why we should not take excess any part of the nutrients, no excess, only the required quantity we must take. So fatty acids and glycerols are stored as fat, converted into fat and stored. So all these processes, glycogenesis and this glycogenolysis, deamination, fatty acids, all this will come under assimilation. Okay, ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation, digestion. Okay, undigested food is sent out in digestion. Now we are going to see the liver, the importance of the liver. It is the largest gland present in our body, and it maintains the blood sugar. It converts all the glucose is converted into glycogen stored in the liver only. It is storing the glycogen. So whenever we need glucose, it is sent as glucose. It is converted into glucose. Glycogen is converted into glucose. So it maintains the blood sugar. Then deamination. Already we have seen these amino acids cannot be stored. So after we are utilizing it for production of protein, the remaining will be converted into nitrogenous waste as urea. This process called deamination, that is done by the liver only. So urea is produced in liver. Okay. Then synthesis of RBC in small children, infants. In the infants, the babies, the RBCs are produced in the synthesis in the liver. Adult only, the RBCs are produced in the bone marrow. Okay. So RBCs can be produced in the liver also in the infants. The next one is storage. It stores iron, copper, vitamin A and D. It acts as a storage organ. Then it secretes a very important thing, heparin. Liver secretes heparin. This heparin is responsible for the liquid state of our blood. Blood tissue is the only tissue which is seen in the liquid state. And this, how it is maintaining, if it comes out, it clots. Okay. And the same thing happen if it clot inside the blood vessel, what will happen? It will block the blood flow. It leads to heart attack and stroke. So it has to be in the liquid state in order to take all the nutrients to the different parts. It has to in movement. Okay. So for that it has to be there in the liquid state. So this heparin maintains this liquid state. It is an anticoagulant. Anticoagulant that is secreted by liver. So liver plays a very important role in our systems. It is not only digestive system, all the other than digestion, it is doing all these activities. Heparin is very important. Okay, and the same way urea, deamination. Urea is produced in liver. If the nitrogenous gas is not being removed from our body, it will become toxic. It leads to death. Okay, so all these parts played by the liver. In this, we have seen the digestive system, anatomy, and physiology. Okay, so we will meet in the next class. Bye.